we are not alone.
These are supposed to be some of the most verified images of giants.
People who do meditation for 60 days will lengthen their telomeres.
Soon we'll get results, and we'll let you know right here on Beyond Belief. Things seem to be changing in the field of ufology.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
That's priceless.
Isn't that amazing?
Tesla wanted free energy, and look what happened to him.
Plenty of evidence to show that they're real. The real question is how and why.
There were Egyptian hieroglyphs out in the outback of Australia.
In Australia. What are the possibilities? Mars was inhabited, and these were built. We almost can't duplicate today. These are amazing topics. What if there was something like at Area 51 deep underwater?
They were killed by some animal.
Believe me, we're just getting started. I'm George Norrie, and we here at Gaia are committed to revealing the truth.
Okay, so 2 guests tonight, 2 of my friends. Later on, we got Lynn Buchanan, who's a close friend of mine, and golly, now, like, I think George Norrie's like invited him over to his home all the time. It's something like that. He's always on Beyond Belief, and he's, well, but who doesn't love Lynn Buchanan? So he'll be on later with us, and he's going to talk about the Remote View Ranch. And before that, one of my friends, Arla Colette Williams is her name. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her with she and I before she comes on. One of the things is, well, she's Southern, so you're going to hear my accent come out more because she's going to pull it out of me. I'll still do my best to do my radio voice. I kind of feel like I'm losing it. When you start feeling like you got to project your voice, I'm feeling like I'm having to force it. And usually when that's the case, it usually means I just need a little sleep. But Arla will take up the time for sure. She's got great information. You're going to love this. But now, I met Arla through Parker Duvall, and he's a friend of mine and out of Kentucky, and he took me Bigfooting several times. And one of the times, I'm thinking it was twice, but I'm thinking at least one of the times he had invited this person, Arla, who you're going to hear tonight, and he said, she's like my sister. She's like my sister. You'll love her. You'll love her. She's great. We met. We took a selfie, all 3 of us, and then we walked into this, like, just a small park, really not that big of a, it's not like going up to the Rockies and you got to go 18 million miles in. It's people, anybody that Bigfoots or goes and looks for Dogman or anything like that, you don't have to go in. I mean, you can, I'm sure, but you don't have to go far. They can be right there next to where you live and where people walk trails constantly, and even hunting clubs and even golf courses. And I kid you not, it's real. I've seen it myself. And if you believe me, well, there you go. And I hope you do, because I'm not going to give you any, I might give you some crazy stuff, but it's going to be real. Okay. It's going to be genuine. Why else would we do all of this? So anyway, I met Arla. We all 3 took a little, they always take a selfie of themselves. And I got to be in this selfie, and hopefully somebody's got it around somewhere, because I'd love to see that again. So we went into the woods. And interestingly enough, this is something I'll never forget. First of all, she's wonderful. You're going to love her. And if you've never heard her before, you're going to want to follow her around and listen to her stuff and join her page and all that kind of thing. But so we walk into this little area and immediately getting hoots and howls and whatever. I mean, it's amazing, that place. I couldn't believe it. It's just right off the side of a road. But I was still very new to it being in my home state, that these beings were there. You grow up all your life and you don't see anything like that. You're not looking for it. You don't think about it. Maybe you've got other kinds of the things that people talk about. There's always something. You grow up. There was like the Pope-like monster and the Goat Man and different things like that, but never heard a Bigfoot or a Dogman or anything like that. So anyway, we go in. And it was almost immediately that there was on the ground. Now, this is my perspective of it, okay? So I'm still pretty new to a lot of the things at this time when this occurred. It's years back. And what I saw was the most perfect Bigfoot footprint that I'd ever seen. It was perfect. And don't know why it was in the perfect spot. Keep in mind, to get a good print, it's got to be in the perfect spot, right? Where there's no grass, where you can see the entire print, and it goes just perfectly. Means there's not gravel there where you only see half a foot, or part of a partial foot or something like that. I mean, it was perfect. It had to be in the right spot to do that. It's like it was almost purposely, boom, put there. So I went, oh, look. Now, I don't remember everything, but I remember this. Look. And Arla went right to it, and she like stepped on it, actually, and looked down, and she put her foot on it. And no, you just put your foot on it. She goes, no, I didn't. Yes, she did. And she said, what? And, it's not exactly everything that happened, but for the most part, this is what happened. And I said, you just put your foot on this beautiful big footprint. And she said, oh, I see those all the time. She said, I'm looking at this. And that's where I was basically introduced to the glyphs. And I was just like, that was the perfect footprint. She's like, oh, I see those all the time. And it was, they had put together, they already knew she was coming, obviously, and they gave her a nice footprint, and they gave her a little glyph as a gift and to say welcome. And she was like, yay, she was all excited. And that's where I learned glyphs. I didn't even realize that, Arla, that welcome to Coast. I didn't even realize that actually that's where I learned what a glyph was, right then and there with you. Do you remember that at all?
Oh, yeah. I remember that like it was yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
I remember you freaking out.
Oh,
but this
it was amazing.
glyph was so significant. It was probably 4 foot long, and it was written to where it almost looked like Chinese characters coming down, and I was just like, oh, wow, that's so cool.
You were like going like, look at this. Look, I'm like, you just stepped on it, because all I saw was a footprint. I didn't see all those little twigs everywhere. I mean, I see twigs all the time.
Yep.
Not with that pattern, though.
Yeah. I guess it's just that thing of, what's in your life a lot. You just take it as it's an everyday thing. And it's just part of my life. I mean, I've seen them for more years than probably some of the listeners are old. So, it was something I wasn't honed in on looking for a footprint. I was more interested to see what glyphs that they were going to have out there, because I knew there would be some. I just did not expect that big of one.
And you aren't even from, this was in Kentucky, and you were just visiting.
Right.
I mean, they're talking to you wherever you go. That's cool.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
When I came into all of this, and oh gosh,
at 6 years old, come on.
Yeah, and when I started that, that was that learning took quite a while. Over my lifetime of learning. Of course, my grandmother taught me, but I think a key factor for me was I was never taught fear. I was never taught to be afraid of anything when I was in the woods, other than, you've got to be careful if you've got coyotes or bears or any of those things. You have to be careful.
Yeah.
But as far as anything outside of that, I was never taught to fear anything. I was taught, if you see something and you don't know what it is, then you ask it,
Mm.
what are you? Who are you? What's your name? My name's Arla, and this is why I'm here. And so that whole thing for me kept me from fearing, of course, the Bigfoot and the Dogman and ETs and all the other things that, I'm in contact with from time to time. And because fear stops you. It stops you in your tracks from understanding. And
In everything in life. Yeah. In
yes,
absolutely
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yep. It just stops you. And when you get in that space, you have no control. You just feel like you've lost control, and people do not like to feel
That's
that
true.
they're not in control of
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
And when you're dealing with Dogman or the Bigfoot people or ETs, I call them Star Nation people, fairies, little people, anything. That if you don't understand their nature, then fear can jump right in there. And that's been, I think, one of the things that's been important to me to help other people to get past that. And to, if they want to have a relationship or more encounters or whatever, to work through that. And with a Dogman, that's a big deal because they are the masters at projecting fear.
Oh man, I can't wait till everybody hears the stories that you have, the encounters, what you know, and your perspective. Because, we're going to be taking a break before we get into what you're going to say. But you have you have the most different outlook and perspective of them than anyone I know. The very first time I heard about them, where somebody had some knowledge, I think it was you. There was another person that also gave me information, and they said one thing, you say a total other. I'll talk about that when we come back. I just want to ask you before we do go away for a break here in a minute, before we get to that, because I don't want to break that. That when you go, you're going to be going on that. But when we saw that glyph, now I was at the stage, there's stages when you first learn these types of things and find out about this and go looking. And so I was at the stage of still looking around for like prints, and so that's where I saw that print. And I was like, no, you just put your foot on the most perfect print ever in the world. So it was cool because they put that print there for you. And then they had that. And it was so funny. You shooed me away, said, I've got plenty of those. I got plenty of those. And you said, I'm looking at this. And I was like, what? I did recognize that there was something there. And then you pointed it out. For the most part, can you read what those glyphs mean? A lot of glyphs you see like an A thing and a Y type thing. And you say, hey, see that A, it's for Arla. And I have people with Y names say that, well, that's my last name. Or does that mean something else?
Well, A doesn't, when you see A's, it doesn't always mean
it's Arla. It's Arla. It's going, hey, tell Arla I said hello. Okay.
Yeah. There are other meanings for the A as well. But that's one of the things that they did with me,
right,
to connect with me and get me started on the road of understanding glyphs. And it's very fascinating to talk about glyphs. And what's even more fascinating is what people call cryptids, which I call primal people, like the Dogman, the Bigfoot people, and many of the others, fairies, and even the Star Nation people, they use this type of writing too. It's a type of energetic communication.
Mm-hmm.
And
You're talking about the glyphs right now, or are you talking about telepathy and mind speak?
No, I'm talking about glyphs. Just
okay.
Glyphs. So, a lot of people, I've heard them say, oh, the Bigfoot are the only ones that leave the glyphs. No, that's not right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate that?
For me,
knowing?
I've done it for so long. It's just looking at it. But it can be energetically. Typically, the fairies will use a much smaller glyph. I've gotten fairy glyphs that are the size of my thumbnail.
Oh, that would be so cute.
They're very artistic as well in what they do, and usually a small area. And, they end up in very strange and unusual places, in your home, in your car, sitting on your laptop or, whatever.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Hey, when we come back, we'll ask Arla. It's Arla Colette Williams, who is with us tonight. We have tonight Arla Colette Williams. A little later on, we'll have Lynn Buchanan talking about the remote view ranch. You'll learn a whole lot more about that. That's really cool, what he's got put together. The people that you hear tonight, you will hear shortly soon on my podcast, Connie Willis, the podcast. So we'll be taking questions throughout the night. But if for some reason you're like, oh man, I didn't get to get in, the lines were too busy, blah, blah, blah. Well, just know that you can go to Connie Willis, the podcast, and I'll be doing some live ones where you can talk to people. So go find where that is on all those directories out there. You all know how to do that podcasting better than me. I'm just going to put it together and throw it out there to all the platforms. But if you ever have a problem, just go to ConnieWillis.com if you're looking for me. So Arla back with us. She's lived a life full of mystery in the woods, and it all started at 6 years old. Come on, woman. It probably started even before that. I mean, holy cow. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Tell us about that.
Well, actually, I started as far as my first face-to-face encounter with the Bigfoot people. I was at my grandmother's. I was sitting on the ground in the dirt playing and with sticks and things, and I would
see
make
you doing that.
I can
totally see you doing that.
Stuff like that. And I heard someone walk up, and I thought it was my grandmother. But when I looked up, it was a young male Bigfoot.
Wow.
And we just kind of stood there. Or I was sitting, he was standing, looking at each other for a little while. And then he turned around and walked off. And when he did, I jumped up and I went into my grandmother and I told her what I saw. And I said, "What was that, Granny?" And she said to me, "What do you think it was?"
Oh.
And she always let me think about things for myself. Nice. And it's pretty much how I work with people, too. I want people to grasp for themselves what's going on in their life. But then after a little while, she began to tell me about them. And so I had that benefit, of her bringing me along and teaching me. She grew up in the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, and she had her encounters and understandings from, her own life. So she taught me, brought me along. If ever I had a question, I could take it to her. And she let me tell what I thought about it, and then, we would talk maybe from her perspective, but she never told me I was wrong. She just always let me talk through it and help me to understand.
That's really cool, though, because that allows you to tell what you saw and be confident in what you felt and heard, and then she's got more information for you. That's really cool. Now, so when you saw that juvenile in front of you, how far away was it? And it was full body?
Oh, yeah, 10 or 15 feet, close enough that I knew it was a boy. So.
Well, they don't call him Bigfoot for nothing, right?
Yeah, so, it definitely was close. And so that started my grandmother teaching. It's actually not the first time
I told you. I knew it.
I didn't know this for many, many, many years. I remember what happened, but I was only 3 at the time. But my mom and I were talking, and she reminded me of the incident. And what happened was I was sitting on my mom's bed. I was 3. Dad was taking a shower. Mom was in the closet getting clothes ready for the next day. And she heard me talking to somebody. And she come out of the closet and she said, Arla, who are you talking to? And then she looked at the window, which was open, and she screamed. And my daddy come running out of the bathroom, and she said, there's a dirty, hairy man. Arla was talking to him. Oh. And my mom said to me, she said, I wonder if that was a Bigfoot. So that was her revelation of that happening. And of course, at 3 years old, I didn't put all that together. It was just somebody I guess I knew or didn't know. I talked to everybody. I was just talking to as he looked in the window.
Very natural, just a natural thing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. When I very first had learned about the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, hairy people, I was just doing work where I was bringing in film documentaries to someone out in LA that was doing paranormal stuff on the internet. And I, was given some information on Bigfoot, and then I met some people, and they took me into Alabama, and it was, hey, that first night, man, they were talking to me and all this stuff. And it's just a very natural thing when it happens. And it's afterwards that you go, hey, I was just talking to something. And it's not like the clouds have parted and God is like, la, 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 here's the 10 commandments. It's not like that. It's very just natural. And I think that's the difference when it happens to people. I think that's more of the amazement.
Yeah, it is. And especially if they're using telepathy. And, because so many people are like, oh, there's no such thing as that. And then when they have it happen, it's like, oh,
yep,
it does happen. And the awesome thing is that the Dogmen do the same thing, but so do fairies and the little people and the Star Nation people.
And when you say Star Nation, you mean ETs like grays and mantids, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I've always called them Star Nation people because I was always taught that they were family. So I've just never called them ETs much. And not that I wouldn't call them ETs because they are extraterrestrial, but it's just Star Nation people. But all of these beings So it's like everything out there is using telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
here, people are going, you can't do that. Well, you can.
Yeah.
You can.
Yep.
And you do it every day and don't realize it. How many times have you been thinking about somebody and they called you on the phone? Or you're with somebody and you're thinking about something and that person that's with you says something about what you're thinking.
I absolutely agree with you.
That's
Absolutely.
telepathy.
Yeah.
You sent that thought out and somebody got it.
And when it does happen where you have a conversation and something's around you and you don't maybe see it, or maybe you do see it, but then it's even just more amazing. It's just like,
Oh,
this
it
is
is.
great. Having a whole conversation. It's really cool. So I had met someone before and they were actually on Coast telling the story. It was a long time ago. And I don't know if she still feels the same way or not. So I'll just kind of say that, she just known for just a lot of investigating and really knowing her stuff. And I remember she had talked about the fact that, she'd be like, okay, I can go into a forest full of Bigfoot and I would just lay there and fall asleep, at night and not a big deal. I can do that. And she was just very brave and very knowledgeable. But she had said when she learned about the Dogman, she said, if you see one, it'll be the last thing you ever see. And she would, as soon as the sun went down, she would lock her doors and that was it. Now, I don't know if she still feels that way or learned differently or still still feels the same way or not. But I hear a lot of people that they are ready with guns. They feel that they need to kill them, that they are just here to eat people, kill people. And that's just the way it is. So I always tell people, well, there's a whole nother side too, where people think they're really nice and they're like the masters. So tell us, and that's because I heard from you.
Well, they're different. Their energy, oh my goodness, I always call it gut energy because it will hit you in that solar plexus area. And that is our area of fight or flight. And that's just how their energy is. And with Ralph, the male that I have a relationship with, his energy, sometimes I will tell him if he's anywhere close around me to please tone it down a little. I would appreciate that because my body is not set up for that much energy at this time. It gets a little easier over time, but I tell people all the time they are the master teachers of fear. They hit so many buttons for us, and we have been brought up on fear. And that is one thing that is very hard for some people to get through, to put that fear down. They've always been there. They've always been around you. Nothing's changed other than you had an encounter. And that encounter became what your belief was about that.
Mm-hmm.
You look at something and you go, wait a minute, I don't have a reference for this, or maybe I do, and the reference that I have for something that looks like a Dogman is very, very scary and very, very evil. And so we immediately have attached all of that to them. And the simplest way with any being, whether it's a human being or any other being, is to be respectful and to stop and ask yourself when you're there or when you hear it or whatever, what's going on right now? What am I feeling? I know that being is right there. And it's like I said a while ago, what I was taught to do was I talk to them. If I run into something that I don't understand and I have no reference for, I want to know who they are. I'm going to ask them their name. I'm going to tell them who I am. That's a respectful thing to do.
Are you doing it with mind speak or are you doing it out loud?
Most of the time I do it out loud. I can do it mind speak, but most of the time I'm just out there. I'm just saying, hey, I'm Arla, and I am here doing whatever. Who are you? And, what is your name? And one of the things that helps is you make that fear into something that you can talk to. I always tell people, too, if talking doesn't get you through that first initial fear and you can't get over it, it's super simple. Leave where you're at. If you're in the woods, turn around and go somewhere else. Don't continue to put yourself through that fear of that being, whatever it is.
Sounds like good advice. Now, when people talk about the Bigfoot, and we totally know there's a relationship there. You have a relationship with one. You were talking about having a relationship with the Dogman, and you said that the one that there's one around you named Rouse, and he's a dad.
Yes, he is. He has a daughter named Weirta, and she and the Hairy kids they have to run thousands of acres, and they are huge pranksters, and they get me good all the time. They're just like a bunch of kids running around through the woods and doing stuff.
So it's Dogman and Bigfoot is what is you're saying? Bigfoot kids and
yeah.
Dogman? So they're hanging out. They're
Yes.
buds.
Yes. They're neighbors.
Okay.
We have got so many neighbors that live around us that we don't ever see, but they're still there.
They're in the wood hood.
Yeah, they are.
Hey, I like that. Hey, wait, hold. I got to write that down. The wood hood. Next book.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And if you're in the woods or you spend a lot of time there, then you become a neighbor too.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was one of the things that my grandmother taught me about the Bigfoot people. They're our neighbors. Treat them with the respect that you would any neighbor. And she said, if you have respect between you, there's no problems. There's no misunderstandings. And just like your human neighbors, sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you talk to them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they got things going on, sometimes you got things going on.
Sometimes you want to know them and sometimes you don't. So we are talking with Arla Colette Williams. And she is talking about, we're hearing about the Bigfoot, the hairy people. We're talking as well about Dogman and her perspective a little deeper with some more of with some of the encounters coming up. So stay with us for that. So Arla Colette Williams, this is who we're talking about. She grew up in southeast Oklahoma. A lot of good people I know from Oklahoma. And at age 6, that's where she was playing outside her home. She heard a noise, looked up, she saw a juvenile male Bigfoot. And like she said earlier, she was close enough that she could tell it was a male. That was hilarious. So Arla, where are you living now? Are you where are you now?
I'm still in Oklahoma.
All right.
And
All right.
probably will be.
All right. All right. Well, I know, there's like all these stories that you got. So I'm just going to let you get into the stories. A lot of people want to know, what do you believe they look like? You know, what are you seeing them or just feeling them, or you just getting the vibe? Can you describe them over the Bigfoot? If you can describe both of them, give the difference. That's what I'm getting calls about. And a lot of people put them in the world of the Anubis. Do you do that too?
No.
Nope. Okay.
I don't designate them to anything as far as that goes. Could they have that connection there? Yeah, they could. But, I have people all the time say, well, where did they come from? Where does Bigfoot come from? And all of that is just that inquisitive mind of the human. What I have is my own personal knowledge. I don't base anything on what I read or a YouTube video or anything else. I base my knowledge on my own experiences with them. And
the way it should be, yes.
I've had those experiences all over the United States and into British Columbia. So, and like I said, I'm 73 years old. I'm no spring chicken. I'm not a ready for the pot.
Though she looks about 42. She looks about 42. Go look at her picture. You'll see. She looks 40. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to have what you're having. So, yeah. But with the with the Bigfoot and so you have the Bigfoot side by side. What are the differences of them?
Well, the Dogman, the name, kind of gives you an idea that more than likely they're going to have what people call a snout, or that nose that comes out like a dog. They do look very similar to a dog or a wolf or a canine. And, but, there are some human aspects as well. But I can't say that hands or feet or arms or legs or anything would be solely a human aspect. Because a lot of Star Nation people, have legs and arms and bodies and things as well. But if someone was looking at them, they would go, well, yeah, I see some human attributes in them. Rouse is around 7 foot. And, I've seen others smaller, taller, and, so, and they do look different. Some of them look what I call more primitive looking, so they would have more of an animal, what we would classify an animal look. But it's the same with the Bigfoot people. There are some of them that are very human looking. That the facial features and the hands and the feet are very human looking. And then there are some that are more Neanderthal looking or primitive looking. Like us, I've seen some humans that were pretty primitive looking. And,
a couple of them winked at me on Match.com. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
So, we're all family. We all have different looks. And it's getting past that thought of, well, you don't look like me, so there's got to be something wrong with you.
But you're seeing the pointed ears like a dog, where the
Oh,
Bigfoot
yes.
you're not. Yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
pointed ears and stuff.
And the one picture, well, one of the pictures that I sent you that we didn't get up on the website
Aw.
with Wirta, the Dogman girl, she very definitely has bigger ears, and she has that little snout, and, so that's very dog-like looking, but just the look on her face evokes that human part, I guess, or what we would consider a human part.
Now, you had said earlier, you said that the Dogman are the masters of fear. I always remember as well that you would say they were teachers.
Yes, they are. They are the teachers of that fear that we carry. They can help you break that fear down. And then that goes into other aspects of your life. Working with people through the years and getting to know people who are actually having relationships with the Dogman, and when they open up and open that mind, open that heart, all of this stuff that they're carrying around, this fear, starts to be broken down in different areas of their life.
Do you have some example of that to tell us?
Well, there was one person that I had worked with. They were extremely fearful of so many things. Just life in general. They were afraid that they were going to have to live the life that they lived as a child, or relive it over and over and over. And they saw those aspects of their childhood in day-to-day life as an adult. And so they started working more and more, trying to understand the Dogman and the different ways they look, their different ways of acting, and that fear then began to subside of them. And so as they gave up that fear and became more comfortable around them, it went into other aspects of their life. And that's the same for the Bigfoot people. What they come to teach us is how to take back our respect of ourselves, of the earth, of all the other things in our life, and to live in a good way.
I see nothing but healing, and it's not where people say, well, okay, I have a cut on my arm and I got healed, or I had a broken arm. No, it's a healing within. I absolutely see all that. I try to say to people, I know you're hurting, you're in a situation, whatever it is, or you're stuck. Go out to the woods, learn, come with us on a creepy hotspot, and you really do. There's this healing, and I think a lot of it is the fact that, this is me, I think a lot of this is when you see something that is not supposed to, or you're told it doesn't exist, it does, and when you see it and you realize the advancement of it and the way that it's got feelings and it's looking at you and it is intelligent, highly intelligent, your perspective totally changes, because you feel, about 2 foot tall, and you're like, what is that? Who is that? They didn't do anything to me. They were right there. I saw it for myself. And it just seems to put you in just a whole nother world. And a lot of those things that you needed healing just go away because they really don't matter.
No, they don't. And once you get past that fear, it is like the whole world opens up for you
Yeah.
in all of those little areas that you have some fear about something, some fear of loss, some fear
Yeah.
of not having, fear of getting sick, fear of just the world in general. When you begin to have more and more understanding of these beings, then all of that other is insignificant. For the people who I've worked with who had an encounter that wasn't scary because they had already began to understand the nature of these beings. And like with the Bigfoot people, yes, they're big, and yes, they're loud, and yes, they kind of look like us, but then they don't exactly look like us. And then you've got this Dogman that, is associated with werewolf and Little Red Riding Hood, and the werewolf's going to come and eat her up, and all of these other things, and so
all these terrible nursery rhymes we were taught as kids to scare us to death.
Yeah. So you get past that. I know one person in particular who was here. I had a drum making workshop. I'd make drums, and I had a friend come and teach it. And it wasn't even about the Bigfoot people or anything else. It was about the drums. We were going to have a teaching on the drum and make our own drums. And he got to see the family. And,
wow.
And of course there is a recording of that. We did not take pictures, but we did record it, and that was fine with them. But he will tell you, after seeing them, he saw the family. He saw Indigo, who is one of the young males. He saw Blue, the other younger male, girl, the little one. And then he saw another one, and they were all right out there in front of him in the woods, but they were positioned where he could see them, probably not 15, 20 feet from him. And he said after that no fear about anything in his life meant anything to him anymore. It had no hold on him.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's where I try to say this is a healing situation as well. If you're hurt over something, you're going to heal a lot better, quicker. Things just drop that you hold on to. Those strongholds in your life, they just go away.
Yeah.
They just go away.
Yep. They're not important anymore.
Yeah.
And of course, with the Dogman,
that's exactly right.
They're pushing you with this fear, because our world is full of fear. We got fear of the ETs. We've got fear of the Dogman. We've got fear the government's going to come in and take over everything.
The sky is falling.
We've got, the sky is falling. We're going to have a CME outbreak that's going to wipe some stuff out. All of these things. And it just immobilizes some people.
It does. They just get stuck. Now, when I'm out there, when I go out to like a creepy hotspot or walk around or this or that, whatever, hey, I am still like, and I usually use the word scared. I'm still scared, but I'll do it, and somebody had brought it up. One of our blue rockers brought it up, Rocky Robin, and she had said, what are we going to do about this? And we all kind of thought about it. I know I thought about it a lot more, and it was like, wait a minute, if you're scared, but you're still doing it, what is that? Well, if you look it up, that's courage. So it's like, hey, I'm courageous, but I'm still cautious. I'm still learning, people don't understand that. They feel like we have to get on a ship, like a rocket, and shoot out into space, and then we're going to see something different out there. Okay, what are we going to do when we see that different? No, they're here. They're here. The intelligent beings are here,
Oh, yeah, yeah. The Star Nation people, they're here. They've been walking among us for eons.
They're all buds. Yeah.
And, and even with them, you have people who have really bad encounters with them.
Yeah.
And, I've worked with some people to work through what they thought was a bad encounter. And once they worked through it, they realized this wasn't bad. This was a positive thing.
Now, do you think that everything's positive and they all love us and we're all good? Or do you think, hey, some of them are not so good?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Thank you very much. That's why I'm here.
I tell people all the time, if we humans were not on this earth, there would be no demons. We create them. We give them life because we don't understand so many things. And so those demons, if we were not here to create them, there wouldn't be any demons here.
So we create the demons.
We create the demons. We give them life.
Do we give them power or do we give them life?
We give our power away all the time, and most of the time to something that we don't understand.
Well, that's a lot.
So
we don't understand a lot.
If we create those demons, doesn't it mean that we can uncreate those demons?
So, right. So when you talk about the Dogman, you say they're the master of fear. So is the initial thing that they're just going to try to, like the Bigfoot like to do pranks and have fun and things like that. But you're saying the Dogmen want to put fear. They work with you on fear. So I can see why people are like, oh my gosh, they're ferocious. They're like, because I'm so afraid. So that actually makes sense to why people are afraid. But you say, okay, they're pushing your buttons. That's what they're working on. Now, Arla, so here's a question for you. We were talking about it right before the break. All right. So knowing the Bigfoot, you got this relationship going. They do prank. They are fun. They have a sense of humor. They're absolutely amazing. They love, they feel, they think, lots of wisdom, obviously. And then you got the Dogman, where out in the UK, they call it werewolf. And you've got this different being that works in the field of a master of fear. So is that how they will initially show themselves? And like where the Bigfoot will play pranks on you, the Dogman will push all your buttons of fear. And is that's kind of one way, if you don't see them, how to differentiate them, I'm guessing. But so that must be where a lot of people will go, hey, they're ferocious, they're scary, run, because they're getting all their fear buttons pushed, and they never get through them like you're talking about, to where they see that they're actually teachers and they've just kind of healed you of these strongholds.
Yeah, pretty much.
Am I kind of on the same line? Okay.
Yeah.
Because then that fits in what everybody else thinks that has come across them.
Right. One thing I won't do is negate anyone's encounter, no matter how horrible it was. I won't negate it, but I will say those encounters happen through misunderstanding. And I've already said this, misunderstanding their nature, how they are, what they look like, what we've already been influenced by.
I think some people are still new to the entire Dogman, and
Right, right. And but you know, the thing is, you're new to something, you hear it, what's the first thing people do? Ooh, I'm going to YouTube and I'm going to listen to
don't do
some
that.
podcasts and I'm going to do this. If you
Well,
want to know about something, put yourself in a place where they are,
agreed.
be respectful, open your heart and open your mind and understand for yourself what's going on.
Yeah, life in general. Think for yourself. Think for yourself. Now,
Yeah.
when you were talking about somebody was having these encounters and you talked with them and got them through the fears that they had, give some examples of what they were doing when she was scared to death, because maybe those examples will let people know what's happening when they hear these certain things.
Oh my goodness, that runs the gamut of all kinds of things going on in a life. A lot of times, what's going to happen if you are close to an area where, you know, people are talking about having an encounter or a sighting or whatever, or typically if stories that have been held for a long time talk about them being in that area, they're going to start out with, you're probably going to feel their energy. And you're going to go, whoa, what was that? I don't like that feeling. And so they begin to bring you into that.
And it's a fearful feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming from you, all of that you're feeling, but their energy is like it just lights that up.
Are they doing that though to say, "Hey, keep your distance"?
I don't think so. In all the people that I've worked with and in all my experiences, I have never been anywhere where I felt like I shouldn't be there. Now, there has been some times when I was talking and getting my energy to where I could be in that area and, you know, and stay there. Like I said, I don't fear, but I still feel that energy, and it's there in the gut is where you feel it.
Uncomfortable.
And so once you get to where you understand what that feeling is, okay, I know what this is. This has got to be a Dogman, because I've heard people talk about that gut feeling, that fight or flight feeling. And so that's what this is.
I can do that when there's an elk. Ah!
Yeah.
Or a moose. Ah!
Yeah. You know, so.
But they're also. But are they also like playing pranks and things like that? Or I mean, was the one with the girl situation, was there like knocking on the window and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, you're going to get that too. You're going to hear them. Oh my goodness, their guttural growl that they do, which is actually, you know, has a conversation element to it, the same as the Bigfoot people do. But that is, it just like reverberates in the area where they're at. And, you know, so you feel those feelings. And you hear people talk all the time about being out in an area and going, I don't like the feeling here. I don't like this feeling, or you hear something, I don't like that I heard that. But they're going to put themselves in your path somewhere. If you needed that and they come, then they're going to put themselves in your path, be it you're going to hear them, be it you're going to have glimpses of them, or you're going to feel them. You're going to know that they're around. And I tell people, too, all the time, you know, if you're totally uncomfortable with that energy,
walk away.
Yeah, just walk away.
Yeah.
Walk away. If you've made
Trust your
those
gut.
more steps to be closer, to try to understand them, you can say, that energy is a little too strong for me.
Got to be ready for it. It's like even me with the Bigfoot. It's I've continuously asked, I don't want to see your eyes yet. I don't want to see your eyes yet. Show me everything but your eyes.
You're going to love their eyes.
Well, I know I'm going to, I can look into people's eyes and see like all sorts of things. So so I'm like, I just know I'm going to see something I've never seen before. And I guess I got to be ready for it. What am I going to see? What am I going to see?
You're going to feel like you're looking into yourself.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. Their eyes they're like our eyes.
Mm-hmm. But I'm going to see their soul. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to, what's that soul like?
Yeah, that's the window to your soul. And see, those are things we've been conditioned with and told. And I don't know how many people I hear say, don't look the Bigfoot in the eyes.
Oh, I'm just not ready yet.
To me, that's a disrespectful thing.
Yeah.
Because if I'm presenting myself to this being, then I want to look in their eyes. And I want them to look in my eyes.
Woo. To me, I'm not there yet. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing it like being disrespectful. I'm just like, I'm not ready yet to be totally blown away.
I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
And
like
it is quite a remarkable thing.
Yeah, it's already remarkable, right? When they're talking to you and you see them and they're walking with you and they're hanging out with you and playing games and, stuff like that. But that's a whole nother, that's the next step to the relationship. That's like an engagement ring or something. There's a commitment at that point.
That's where you get to that part of really knowing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, just,
And
I
that's
know,
one of the things that Kashima calls this understanding that we humans are doing about all these, what I call primal beings or primal people, is we're learning who we are in this world.
I think sometimes, and tell me if you think the same thing, that, the beings out there too are like, hey, look, we see you, just, you stay there. We'll be over here. They don't always want interaction. I think that can be part of it too. We have to wrap it up here, woman. It's always a pleasure for you, to talk with you. It's been a while. I hope we can bring you back to Colorado and throw you up in them Rockies and you can see some really cool things with me.
I'm ready.
I know. I love it. Just real quick, I know you went through a really bad accident. I'm glad you're back in action and yourself again. I know it's taken a while. So I know a lot of people prayed for you and we're just happy that you're back. And here you are doing your Arla thing again, getting out there, telling everybody stuff. And you got 2 books. Tell people where you can find those books that you've written. Okay, and you got another one coming, I think.
Yeah, I'm working on another one that brings in all the aspects of Dogman, the Bigfoot people, fairies, and everything else, pretty much. But you can get my books. My Life with the Hairy People is a chronicle of parts of my life growing up. A lot of my life, this has been physical interaction, not just telepathy and other things. This has been actual physical interaction with them. And so that's what that's about. And then I have a children's book, Respecting the Water, which is some of the characters are, you've got two Bigfoot boys and a little human girl and her grandmother and a Rockene, a grandfather Bigfoot, and how they come to learn to be respectful of the water.
So that's My Life with the Hairy People and Respecting the Water. Arla, thanks so much. Take care. Talk to you soon, and I hope to go investigate with you again, too, because they're always around her.
The Coast mobile app is now available for download on iPhones and Android devices. You can become an insider directly through this app. This is a great option for our international listeners, and new users will also receive a free 2-week trial.